Hur ska vi använda oss av de här globala visdomarna som shamanerna talar om? Kan det finnas en gemensam nämnare mellan besvärjelser mot ormbett, samiska trumriter och ekosofi? Det ska vi reda ut ikväll. Och om en stund ska vi till en internationell konferens. Det är inte FN, inte Davos, inget G8-möte. Nej, det är något så märkligt som ett internationellt toppmöte för shamaner. Men först besvärjelser och trumriter. Jag kan ju känna nu, Åsa, att vad lite vi egentligen vet om vår egen inhemska samiska kultur. På samma sätt när du nu håller på och forskar med gamla ramser och besvärjelser och så vidare, så verkar det som detta framstår för den moderna människan som någonting väldigt exotiskt. Hur har vi kunnat tappa kontakten med våra rötter så här fort?
Ja, det har skett på 2 till 3 generationer, så har vi fjärmat oss från naturen. Och det gäller ju inte bara etnomedicin, utan det gäller ju egentligen allt som rör människans kontakt med naturen. I samband med att vi har lämnat bondesamhället och flyttat in i större samhällen och urbaniserat oss, så har man tappat kontakten med naturen helt enkelt.
Men de som bor kvar på landet idag, de har väl inte kvar den kontakten heller?
Nej, det är kanske också en naturlig utveckling.
Är det påtryckningar från de samhälleliga strukturerna också, eller?
Ja, men det är ju många saker som spelar in. Ja, det var det kanske på 1800-talet åtminstone. Ja. Men det är ju väldigt mycket som har påverkat, självklart. Och jag tror inte att man kan se det här som någonting som är oföränderligt, utan hela tiden förändras vårt förhållningssätt till naturen. Och det går i vågor, och vi kanske går tillbaks lite och går ett steg framåt. Det händer hela tiden saker i vårt förhållningssätt till naturen.
Och varför har vi glömt den samiska kulturen så snabbt?
Den brukar bli bortglömd. Samer har inte så stor plats i det svenska eller skandinaviska medvetandet. Men vi är väldigt envisa och vi finns där.
Men vad gör ni då för att bli mer omtalade igen? Mer än renbeten?
Ja, vi försöker till exempel sitta här med dig och prata och berätta om det vi har. Komma ut lite i media och så.
Så du känner dig lite som en representant då för en liten...
och en närhet till naturen. Och att vi trots den materiella standard vi har uppnått känner att vi saknar någonting. Där tror jag väldigt mycket ligger.
Drums, monotonous music, people in a trance, shamans. The word shaman originated among the Evenki people of Central Asia. For many, shaman has become a generic term, a description of people who live a traditional spiritual life all over the world. Crossing the borderline of consciousness, experiencing a hidden world, invisible, not provable, and yet seen as real. This is the account of people even today, believers, mystics, and shamans. For 40,000 years, man has been practicing the techniques of reaching ecstasy. Stone Age rock drawings prove this. These locations, still puzzling scientists, are traditional cult places of shamans. Here they practice their rituals. For them, these are places of strength, sites enabling the initiated to cross the borderline beyond normal consciousness. They say their soul can leave the body like a bird. The traditional habit of a shaman equals, in some aspects, the gown made of eagle's feathers. In a trance, and aided by the ritual clothes, the shaman's soul shall thus be enabled to travel into another reality. They turn into spiritual wings, and many of the sewn-on symbols are signs of the owner's power and strength. Other artifacts represent a special relationship with the power of animals and spirits. Symbolically, they reflect the imaginative world of other civilizations. In many a culture, a boat can navigate the river that leads into the spiritual world. Crossing these borderlines, one enters into a special rapport with spiritual powers. Aided by these forces, the borderline crossers want to achieve very differing skills, like healing the sick or personal enlightenment in a religious sense. These traditions can be found in the different regions of our world, in past and present times. Yet it is astonishing how similar these ideas and practices are in the most distinct cultures around the world. An essential characteristic is that often rhythmical music causes the state of trance. The drums are found in every region of the world. Last summer, shamans, medicine women, and priest sorcerers meet for a congress of the Association for Shamanism and Healing at the Upper Austrian Mundsee. For the participants from all over the world, it's not just a meeting of colleagues. The primary focus is the exchange of personal spiritual experiences.
When you start doing shamanism, you do it for yourself. You think you are exploring yourself, and it's a thing you do for your self-reflection. But after a while, it's like you can journey like you are journeying inside the earth and going deeper and deeper. And it's somehow like this. The particles get smaller and smaller. And I think I'm talking about atoms and smaller particles. And suddenly you journey into big space inside the earth. And in the next moment, it can happen that you fall out of a heaven, sort of inside the earth. and then you fall in the free, and you are surrounded by stars.
It opened my mind as far as my work is concerned, because it made me to see how wide I am, because I find that there were Native American shamans, shamans from Europe, mountain men and all that. And when we started to share our knowledge, it is just the other side of the hand. We were like, all of us, we are from different lines of the spider web, but we all go to the center of the spider in different ways of getting there.
A European audience united in the ritual with traditional healers and shamans. For the participants, this encounter is not just limited to meeting other people and cultures.
The spirit of the drum, in this case the reindeer spirit, is coming to so you can ride on it, and the reindeer spirit is taking you into the extraordinary reality, and is taking you to meet your own spirit, because this is not the spirit of the client, this is the spirit of the drum.
All of our ceremonies, our traditional ceremonies, are based on a legend. The legend is our story as to where we're coming from, as told to us by our elders, our grandfathers, our grandmothers. These stories are only told in the winter times. Not much so when all the elements, like the thunders, the bears, when they come out of their hibernation from their sleeping area, that they come back, and that's when we don't talk about that, because this story is part of theirs.
The increasing interest in their rites and traditions is met with a certain skepticism and cautiousness. Shamans and healers are more than aware of their past. Not only was curiosity and wanting to learn the focus of the encounter,
Sangoma is the archive of our cultures in Africa and in South Africa. Because before the white people came, they were Sangomas, who used to know everything about everything that was taking place in their societies.
There was also the influence of Christianity, which was also difficult, because the practices of a medicine person or a healer, whilst they came round the back door to visit you, it was considered something of black magic.
for a long time, traditional teachings, rituals and healing techniques were outlawed and are still forbidden in several countries today. Although their expertise in herbal plants was only too willingly adopted, they were considered as rivals for other reasons.
Similar, the flower is similar to that. Yeah. So I use that in comparison.
Scientists declared shamans charlatans and dismissed trances as hysteria. The powerful considered shamans a nuisance because of their religious standing and their political influence.
그 어느 섬으로 해가지고 인천에 왔죠. 불과 얼마 안 있다가 새마을 운동이 본격화되면서 미신 타파다 해서 미신 타파로 부르짖으니까 그거는 사람으로 참 겪지 못할 일을 너무 많이 겪었고.
Only those who free themselves from worldly aberrations are strong enough to explore the expanses of the spirit. To this end, the Navajo make use of their sweat lodge, the cache. Stones heated by fire are covered with water inside the hut. This Navajo variation of the steam bath doesn't just serve for cleaning the body.
Hot stones. Txmns is a dwelling to where the word says your mind is in balance. It's another world in itself to where you come in. It's just like being in a womb. You come out being clean. And when you're clean, your mind should be clean. Your body should be just as well. You feel content, you feel consoled, you feel at ease. Your vibration is now clean, your energy is now restored, rejuvenated. You're recharged, you want to come out.
Some shamans withdraw into solitude to prepare themselves for their spiritual rites. For their meditation and spiritual journeys, they visit specific locations of strength. The North European Sami sometimes consider a cave such a sacred place.
Then you go into the cave and you go into the earth, and it's like when you come back, you are reborn. It's like some sort of symbolic death. And we have to learn to die, to learn to live in the right way, to get a new start in the way we are living. So we come out again more like a baby, like more innocent and more pure.
나한테 어떤 신이 들어와서 제3의 힘에 의해서 굿도하는 거고 영역에 그 공수도 내려 예언을 하는 거지. 내가 무아징으로 빠져들어 멀리 가면은 여기 있는 환자는 누가 치료해 주냐고 멀리 가서 하는 게 아니야. 나는요. 신을 불러다가 그 금방 뭐 죽게 됐다든가 병명이 없다든가 그걸 빌고 정성을 들이면서 그 사람은 아주 감쪽같이 치유가 되는 거예요. 신의 도움을 청해가지고 막 신을 모셔오는 거거든요.
In many traditional cultures, the contact with the spirits is an important prerequisite to live one's own religious tradition. Only in this way, a shaman experiences how man is in harmony with the forces of the unconscious and nature.
The main role a shaman has is to be an agent for the sacred. That's the task like the shaman has. And in being an agent for the sacred, he can be a priest, he can be a healer, and he can be a storyteller, and he can be a clone.
One cannot simply declare oneself a shaman. To be, in some regions of the world, acknowledged as shaman, it is essential to give proof of one's abilities. These proofs sometimes remind us of the skills of the Indian fakirs.
작두를 타는 사람도 있고 못 타는 사람도 있거든. 그럴 때 애군이 많이 있을 때 또 잡신이 접했을 때 무당한테가 아니라 어느 집이 그 무당이 의사로서 말하자면은 뭐랄까 그 특진을 끊는 거 인정을 받는 무당은 그 작두를 타야 더 인정을 받는 거예요. 그만치 큰 무당이라는 얘기죠.
Shamanic teaching is traditionally passed on orally. Their knowledge is often so extensive that whole books could be filled with it. But knowledge alone is of only secondary importance for this vocation.
Wrap it around you and you stand with it underneath you.
Yeah.
And to lose, because she needs to be cleared away inside her. We had no written language, so they remember all in a chanting form. They had remembrance, and he had stones put in his mouth, and they just hour after hour after hour goes through these rhymes of chants until he swallows the words. It becomes part of him. And those were the very difficult tests. One of the tests of a seer in the a tohunga in the early days, they were to kill a bird in flight with their mind or split a tree.
It is 3 or 4 ways to become a shaman. And the one is like if you're born into a family of shamans, then you learn by growing up. And one day when the shaman dies, you take over. That's one way. The other way is voluntary choice. You sort of see the shaman, you like the way they work, you get interested, and you sort of get the motivation to learn, and you go to another shaman and you say, hey, I like to learn this thing, can you teach me? The third one is calling by spirits, and it's like calling from inside. And in such an occasion, many stories tells that people can get sick, or they get a little crazy, they get shy, they run in the wilderness, they hide away, they don't want to see others. And if you say no, because you start to get to know that this is a shaman calling, and if you say no, you can get more sick. And and the story goes, if you say yes, during 3 days you are fresh, you are healthy, and you are strong. Then you have accepted the purpose of your life.
가르치는 건 첫째, 우리는 말하자면 동방예의주국이고 옛날부터, 그러니까 무당이 돼서 자세를 똑바로 잘해라, 행동을. 그리고 너를 위해서만 살려고 하지 말아라. 너는 이미 신에서 선택했기 때문에 남을 위해서 살아야지 된다. 예, 그러니까 너는 모든 것을 희생을 해라. 그 환자가 많고 어렵고 힘들고 고달픈 사람들이 많이 찾아오니까.
Sacrifices to the spirits are meant to appease them, but they are also meant as an offering of something real, not only symbolic. Often, it's more than just donations which are demanded from the initiated.
The last day, the pain came. This time, I was alone. I heard as if somebody was putting a sharp instrument from this side to my shoulder blade. And then I felt the other one from this to this side. The last one from top to here. And I heard the voice again. Go out now. We know sometimes somebody is not ill as one feels is ill, like I used to feel I was ill, and yet it was the spiritual energies that were rolling around in my body which caused those pains, because no medicine was used. Drum playing took the pain away up to today, to prove that it wasn't a sickness. It was a talk. It was a message that I was supposed to understand, the old way of understanding things.
4 or 5 years of education are the minimum, and often this time does not suffice. Many novices need up to 10 years before they are skilled in all rites and ceremonies. In the past, the relationship between shaman mother and shaman daughter was much closer. Only after her death was the pupil allowed to practice on her own.
Among the different kinds of spirits, the spirits of the ancestors play a particular role. Often, they are the nearest messengers of the invisible.
Talking to God, African way of doing things, you talk to your ancestors. We don't worship our ancestors. We acknowledge our ancestors. We use our ancestors as our messengers to the higher being.
In tribal societies, it was like a grandfather, grandmother, and they had this kind of smile and this kind of appearance that appealed to you, that you could trust. This is really a wise one. This is really one enlightened person. This is a person that means just good. And so everyone has like a wise man or woman. In the Christian tradition, it could be an angel or a saint. But in our tradition, it's like a grandfather or a grandmother. They are not distant like the big God in the heaven far, far away, but they are near and you can communicate with them.
Also, animals or animal spirits are frequently helpers and protectors of the shamans. Some shamans have a special relationship to one or several of them.
I use all of them. I don't have one specific one, because we don't use an antler of a deer because it is sacred to us. Unless you know the story and the medicine behind it, because all animals, all plants have different energy, a different way of putting it together to where it should work. If you do it wrong, it's going to have an adverse effect on the individual.
These spirit animals, they are called the sacred animals, like holy animals. And they are a symbol which rises up from, let's call it the unconscious, and it comes into consciousness. And it comes with energy, and it comes with abilities. And it comes to help you. And the one you get is the one you need. It comes to help you to move on. So, for instance, if you get a wolf, it can come to help you to digest like emotional problems. You know, the wolf is out there in nature and digesting carcasses and stuff like that. Like the spirit wolves can digest emotional problems, so you can move on. And sacred animals, power animals, they are agents for the sacred to move us all on, to get the experience of the sacred. And to get the experience of the sacred, like this ecstasy, is, as far as I understand, the aim of the shamanic work.
It is true, and it's how it is told. It is given. You can anoint an individual to have a sense of a power to where they can protect themselves with different animal species, yes. Those are the reasons why we wear them. Huh? That's the reason why we wear them eagle claws, bear claws. It's simply because of that. But then again, on the other hand of it, is that we limit ourselves to these things because some of them are taboo. Some of them to us are sacred animals. When we say sacred, we don't bother it. For me, I don't bother bears or reptiles because I have a direct contact with them. And it's within the legend that it wasn't meant to be handled in that form.
On the drum was drawn a whale, a boat, one pair of skis, and a reindeer. So I think this is sort of like one of the oldest drums I know about, which is coming out of history. And on that is the first layer of this drum. The other things, the other symbols here, is from drums from 16th and 17th century. And the main thing, it's this sign here. And that is the sun sign. And that means it's the center. That's the symbolic meaning of this sign. It's the center. And it can mean the center of the universe, like the sun, or it can mean the heart, your center.
The shaman considers himself as one particle of the universe, which is abundant with life. It is the animistic picture, the world view that incorporates each and any life. And whoever knows the adequate trance techniques can enter into a direct relationship with any element of nature.
We judge that. We make that judgment. We make that decisions based on the legend. Yes, animals is there to be acknowledged. Vegetation is there to be acknowledged. The elements is there to be acknowledged. However, you have to learn to live with it. Because for us, we go back to the theory, always back to that legend as to how things had happened in the past. So when one had evolved from that time to the current day, the elapsed time between that and up to the current day, even this morning, we accept the animals to be a friend to us, not as a brother, not as a sister. It is a friend that we have to dwell because it is part of us and we're part of them.
It has a very strong life force. Everything around us has a life force, including these things here, because they all come from the earth. It doesn't matter what compound you work it out, it comes from there. So it has a life force, and a very strong one. And sometimes when you have to cut a tree down or anything like that, you are immortalizing it in another beauty. And you are no greater than nature. Sometimes nature, you cannot win with nature.
Heavenly creatures, and it's like you are exploring the universe, and somehow it's inside you, and you sort of discover that in this body the whole universe is hidden. You know, I'm not talking sort of mystery, about the mystery, or I try to explain it like mythology, but that is the experience. And that is why we say we are connected to everything, like to every living thing, every tree, like every element of nature, like other people, like animals, and like the rock, and like the universe as such.
It's all in the one, because it is not for you or I to decide that. It comes from the deities, it comes from the whole, it comes from the Creator. A body is formed within the midst of another body. When it is formed, it comes out, but not alive, until that air enters in. Once the air enters that body, then it becomes alive. So who are we to say that the body comes before the soul, or the soul comes to the body? For us, it's all one ingredient. It is just so that it is understood that there are three elements in one body. A soul, I think, is a spirit. But a spirit has to have a spirit to be alive.
The relationship to the visible and the invisible is experienced as reality.
It's the shaman soul. We call it the free soul that is flying away. And the free soul has the senses. You can see, you can smell, you can touch, you can, yeah. And it's like you are there. But, and you can see other people's free soul. They look like the body. but they are not material. So when you are doing a shamanic journey, it's like you are the free soul goes away and goes into like these shifting realities, and there you experience different things, and you get to see things. It's like secrets are revealed. It's like the beyond the ordinary reality is revealed, and you can have like visions about the origin of consciousness and interrelatedness with all other living beings.
It is only the body that we take as a dead part of your life and we bury there, because that body, we will never be able to see it. But there's one thing that we know which we didn't bury there. It is the soul. So that is why we have rituals of accepting the soul back into our fold. The soul shouldn't be there. The soul shouldn't be roaming around. The soul should be brought back from the ones the soul once lived with. There are those kind of rituals which make us to differentiate from something dead and something living.
It is not only the borderline between life and death which is perceived to be something that can be experienced. For the shaman, the soul is reality. One of the reasons for illness which needs to be healed may be the loss of the soul.
We have symptoms of soul loss that can tell us that this is probably soul loss. Then I have to journey in between the worlds to see. And when you journey from this reality in between worlds, you can see the reason for the sickness.
The drum, beaten in traditional rhythm, after a certain time helps one enter into a trance. Not only the pulse changes, but also the activity and type of brain waves differ measurably. Contacts between shaman and modern physicians are, however, not geared to testing each other's skills. Shamans rather see comparability in the sequence of the steps taken towards healing.
Well, it has to be that way, because we don't choose to sing for the person maybe just by an observation. Yeah. We don't choose a person just because we think that they're sick. We have to be told what the ailment is. So the stages of having to diagnose people and give them a right direction as how to overcome the illness is such to where you start with people that does diagnostic work.
A good.
그렇죠. 치료할 때도 여러 신들을 전부 하나로 묶어서 불러서, 그러니까 쉽게 얘기하자면 사람으로 말하면은 또 여러 그 능력과 위력을 모으는 거죠. 모아서 이제 그 어떤 치유구슬한다든가 환자를 위해서 꼭 그 완쾌되게 비는, 그러니까 쉽게 얘기하자면 그런 거죠. 뭐 이제 조상들이 죽은 조상이 많잖아요. 그러니까 병이 내과병, 위과병 뭐 이런 병이 있듯이 조상이 객에서 병이 나는 수가 있고, 또 밖에서 뭐가 따라와서 병이 나는 수가 있고, 또 뭘 집을 잘못 지어서 병이 나는 수가 있고, 그런 거를 봐서 진단을 정확하게 해서 풀어야 된다고, 의사처럼.
You are healing the mind. That's where the magic is. The herbs, which we have too, and I've studied the herbs. I'm a medicine woman, so I know a lot about medicines. I know how to pick them. But when I analyse with the academic mind, if you like, and I look at what the herbs contain, they don't, because we had no diseases, they don't contain psychedelic medicines, and they don't contain an awful lot of medical things. They have tannin, they have painkillers and the different things. And so the importance, and you would have seen me do it today, the importance is to reach where the condition began, and that is in the mind.
With us, healing, it's whole. Right? Because you have to entertain the physical part and the spiritual part at the same time in order to be able to get results.
Many a Western physician considers shaman healing much ado about nothing. Although contemporary medicine knows about the existence of so-called spontaneous healings, it cannot logically interpret the connection between ritual and healing.
지금은 많은 의사들도 달리 인식을 많이 하거든요. 왜냐하면은 예를 들면은 의사가 고치지 못하는 병이 있어요. 병명이 나오지 않은 병. 그리고 사경을 헤매가지고 중환자실에 뒀는데 뭐 2개월이 넘도록 그냥 중환자실에 있는 거예요. 그러다 어느 날 기적끝이 났거든요. 그러니까 옛날에 그 잠재적으로 그런 이제 부모님들이 하던 그런 의식이 있으니까 얘가 병명이 뭡니까? 그러면 의사들이 우린 최선을 합니다 하다 최선으로 됩니까? 병명이 알아야 되지 않냐? 그러면 무의식 중에 묵구를 해야 되겠나? 이렇게 되는 거라 의사들이.
When I go to the hospital, nobody says anything because for them to understand us is just as well. Because after all, you're working with the three parts and three elements of a body. You're working with the physical side, you're working with the psychological side, and you're working with the spiritual side. So everybody wants that gain. So when you're doing that there's no limit to it. They do open the door for us.
I make my healing from my wonderful bag of bottomless magic. I have a discerning, intuitive ability to actually see what the person needs. And then I go to my recipe book. Now, it may be a little bit of medicine in the herbs and a little bit of mind, whatever works. You see, to me, I don't have a process or technique. If it's going to work, then I'll use that. If it means to throw a shoe at a person, then that's the right medicine. So I work with the medicine according to what that person needs. Everybody has different needs. Remember, we're not healing the cut foot. We're healing the troubled mind based on a lot of things that happened in that person's life.
Many shamans have knowledge of the human psyche that can match that of Western psychologists. However, they differ considerably in the pragmatic dealing with applicable methods, as well as the merging borderlines with religion.
Comes with a teaching from both sides. The man that raised me on one side, the white family, told me to love even your enemies. The other man that brought me into this cultural world was my grandfather. He told me the same thing. As long as the person that you're helping is talking to the same principle, to the same mystery one, to that creator, to the Great Spirit, maybe that word is God. When that person is there, it's not for me to select if I should or shouldn't. I go along with it and help the person.
I think it will create more balance between men and nature. I hope the war men are fighting against nature will be ending. And the war we are fighting against each other could be ending. Because shamanism is to take like everything inside. It's so easy to project out on other people. They are evil, they are not good, we have to fight them. And to my understanding, it's just another, it come from the side inside us that we don't acknowledge.
I think it's going to change. We're going to have to, we're changing in along with it. We have to learn how to live with today's society. That thing looking at me over there, I have to get adjusted because it's against our religion, our rule of thumb, to be recorded and talk about all these things. Because the voice, we say, is being captured into it. And that they're going to retain it, and it captures that voice in it. So this story is going to be kept. Don't know what is going to become of it. So my version of that is that we have to learn how to be part of it.
I may lose my eyes and ears, yet I can live. I may lose my nose and tongue, yet I can live. I may lose my arms and legs, yet I can live. I may lose my hair, my teeth, yet I can live. If I lose earth and air, I will die. If I lose water and fire, I will die. If I lose trees and plants, I will die. If I lose animals, sun and stars, I will die. What is my true body?
Vi har tittat här nu på en film om modern shamanism som är